This episode is sponsored by Squarespace. I used Squarespace to build both Basics with Babish and bingingwithbabish.com. On the sites, you'll find recipes, equipment lists, other news, and updates. All beautifully designed, if I do say so myself. Get 10% off your first Squarespace order by visiting squarespace.com/babish.
I need fish fingers and custard.
Funny.
Am I? Good. Funny's good.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Binging with Babish, where this week we're taking a look at the fish fingers and custard from Doctor Who. For the control group, I have a big old bowl of custard and some fish fingers, frozen. I'm not sure if the good doctor reheated these before consumption, but I'm going to allow myself that small dignity. First, let's impeccably arrange these on a baking sheet. Bake at 350 for about 7-8 minutes before flipping, baking an additional 6 minutes as per manufacturer's specifications. Arrange on a plate, and let's give this a try. Maybe I'll try one by itself first. It's pretty good. Not too fishy, not too crunchy either, though. Can't imagine that it's going to be much improved by vanilla custard, so here's a spit bucket, just in case. Then we just got to grab ourselves a fish finger and give it a big old dunk in the custard, and come on, Andy, this is what the people want to see. And it's not that bad. I'm not even saying that to be gross or provocative, it's just it only tastes like vanilla custard. It doesn't really taste like fish anymore. So surprisingly inoffensive, but definitely not good, so obviously I think we can do a whole lot better. Let's start with the custard, and I'm going to take a crack at what I'm going to call a savory creme anglaise. First, we're whisking together 3 egg yolks and 1 tablespoon of sugar in a medium heat-proof bowl. Then over on the stovetop, we've got 3/4 of a cup each heavy cream and whole milk that we're going to bring to a bare simmer in a large saucier. Once simmered, we're going to remove from the heat and very slowly stream into the egg yolks, whisking constantly to temper them so that they might not scramble. Put everything back in the saucepan, bring it back over to the stovetop over medium-low heat, and cook, whisking constantly, taking off the heat when necessary for 2 to 3 minutes before straining and cooling. Then, once relatively cool, we're going to add some stuff: a tablespoon or 2 of chopped fresh dill, 1 small dill pickle finely minced, and the freshly squeezed juice of 1 entire lemon. This, along with a generous pinch of kosher salt and a few twists of freshly ground black pepper, results in something actually pretty delicious. You can see when I grab myself a little spoonful to taste for seasoning, I really don't know what to do with myself. It's got all the flavors of a tartar sauce, but the eggy richness of an aioli, and the creaminess of a cream sauce. But I suspect it's going to taste even better when chilled, so I'm going to spread it out on a rimmed baking sheet lined with plastic wrap, pressing a sheet of plastic wrap directly down onto the sauce so that it does not form a skin. In the fridge, where it's going to hang out for about 30 minutes while we make our fish fingers. First up, a dry dredge of 1/2 cup of cornstarch mixed together with 1 tablespoon of flour and a teaspoon of kosher salt. This is going to soak up any excess moisture on the exterior of the fish and help the batter to stick. Speaking of fish, I have here some lovely fillets au cod, which I'm going to cut into fingers across the grain that is in line with the spine, which after patting dry, we're going to dredge in the dredge, making sure that they're thoroughly coated, shaking off any excess, and placing on a rack set in a rimmed baking sheet, where we're going to let them sit for about 15 minutes before we begin to batter. Because of the Britishness of the source material, I thought it'd be appropriate to do a fish and chips style batter. Into another pie plate goes 1.5 cups of flour and 1/2 teaspoon each onion powder, cayenne pepper, and paprika. And then comes the beer, 1.5 to 2 cups of a light lager. Your mileage may vary, so just keep adding beer until you get a nice loose paint-like consistency. Whisk until nearly lumpless, and then it's time to start a Dunkin'. In go the fish fingers, or fish sticks as we call them stateside, where we're going to toss them around to make sure that they are evenly coated before dropping them into a 375°F vat of peanut oil. If you are allergic to peanuts, you could use canola or vegetable or any other of your favorite deep frying oils. After frying for 4 to 5 minutes until deeply golden brown, we are draining on paper towels, which is going to help soak up excess oil so we don't end up with soggy fingies. Rinse and repeat with the remaining fish fingers. Sprinkle with kosher salt while they're still nice and warm, and let's take a look. A crisp, crackly coating with tender, moist fish inside. Perfect. Now for our savory custard, we're going to roll our plastic up into a tube, and in what I correctly predicted would be a very satisfying process, squeeze it out like delicious toothpaste. Arrange everybody on a platter, make sure you get some good shots for socials, and there you have it, fish fingers and custard. Let's see how they taste. And trust me when I say I feel super weird back patting myself like this, but in all honesty, they're perfect. The fish fingers are like little handheld fish and chips bites, and the sauce is rich and creamy, but also bright and flavorful and herby. It's something I'll undoubtedly be making again, to the delight and horror of my dinner guests. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's episode. They've been a great partner in supporting the Babish culinary universe and bringing my websites to life. From websites to online stores to domains and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for you to build your online presence. They also have SEO tools so that your site is getting found and searched by more people more often. If you want to try it for yourself, you can start your free trial today by visiting squarespace.com/Babish to get 10% off your first purchase.